that so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
never real clue to when you're moving, man. When you're gonna be moving, you don't know.
I was hearing what you're saying. I definitely got to move very forward.
Family good?
Gordon M. Amith, Jr.
check test 1, 2. Check. Mic check test 1, 2.
Hey, video guys, can you take a look through your shot? The gentleman there in the suit, we want to make sure that he is out of your shot. He's out. He's out of your. Please go ahead. Anybody know where Amdit is?
Check test 1, 2. Check. Mic check testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Check. Audio check test 1, 2. Check. Check. Check test 1. Audio check test 1, 2. Mic check testing 1, 2. Got it? Check test 1, 2. Check. Mic check.
do a sound check? Test. Test. Test.
Members will be present, but they will be socially distanced. Vice President Mike Pence and former Vice President Joe Biden and their wives will attend ceremonies here. And then, Savannah, later tonight, the tribute in lights will again shine in the New York City sky. Savannah?
Well, we'll just take a pause here. This is a moment that we remember, the first moment of silence, one of many this morning. At 8:46, the time the first plane struck the North Tower of the World Trade Center.
Gordon M. Amos Jr.
Edamiro Abad.
And now, with the first
Marie
moment of
Rose
silence being
Abad.
observed, we are beginning to hear the reading of the names of those fallen that day, a process that takes hours because of so many lives lost. There will also be remembrances and moments of silence 3 more times this morning as this country comes together and marks the toll of that day in our history. Rahima, we remember not just those who were lost, but we remember the heroics of that day and those who rushed in to save. And we also remember this morning the unity felt in this country in the wake of an attack on our very nation.
Christian Adams.
Patrick.
We will keep our eye on this scene in New York City. As you can see the remembrances unfolding there. On Capitol Hill, there are remembrances in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and at the Pentagon. We will continue to follow this. We will have live updates, remembrances here on NBC News, MSNBC, and streaming on NBC News Now. For the moment, this has been an NBC News special report. I'm Savannah Guthrie in New York.
Alok Agarwal.
Mukul Kumar Agarwala.
Joseph Agnello. David Scott Agnes.
Joao Alberto da Fonseca Aguiar, Jr.
Brian G. Ahern.
Jeremiah Joseph Ahern.
Joanne Marie Aladiotis.
Shabir Ahmed.
Terrence Andre Aiken.
Godwin O. Ajala.
Trudy M. Alagero.
Andrew Alamino.
Margaret Ann Alario.
Gary M. Albero.
John Leslie Albert.
Peter Craig Alderman.
Jacqueline Delane Aldridge Frederick.
David D. Alger.
Ernest Alicacos.
Edward L. Allegretto.
Eric Allen.
Joseph Ryan Allen.
Richard Dennis Allen.
Richard L. Allen.
Christopher E. Allingham.
Anna S.W. Allison.
Janet Marie Alonzo.
Anthony Alvarado.
Antonio Javier Alvarez.
Victoria Alvarez Brito.
Telmo E. Alvier.
Cesar Amaranto Alviar.
Tariq
Amanula.
Angelo Amaranto.
James M. Amato.
Joseph Amatuccio.
Paul W. Ambrose.
Christopher Charles Amoroso.
Craig Scott Amundsen.
Kazuhiro Anai.
Calixto Anaya Jr.
Joseph P. Anchundia.
Kermit Charles Anderson.
Yvette Constance Anderson.
John Jack Andreacchio.
Michael Rourke Andrews.
Jean Ann Andruki.
Sunia Ang.
Joseph Angelini Sr. Joseph John Angelini Jr.
David Lawrence Angel.
Mary Lynn Edwards Angel.
Laura Angeletta.
Doreen J. Angrisani.
Lorraine Antigua.
Seima David Aoyama.
Peter Paul Apollo. Faustino Apostle Jr. Frank Thomas Aquilino.
Patrick Michael Araños.
David Gregory Arce.
Michael George Arzinski.
Louis Arena.
Barbara Jean Aristegui.
Adam P. Arias.
Michael J. Armstrong.
Jack Charles Aaron.
Joshua Todd Aaron.
Richard Avery Arano.
Myra Joy Aronson.
Japhet Jesse Aurier.
Carl Francis Asaro.
Michael A. Asiak.
Paul James Battaglia. W. David Bauer. Ivan Luis Carpio Bautista. Marilyn Capito Bautista. Mark Lawrence Bavis. Jasper Baxter. Lorraine G. Bay. Michelle Beal. Todd M. Beamer. Paul Frederick Bettini. Jane S. Beatty. Alan Anthony Bevan. Lawrence Ira Beck. Minette Marie Beckles. Carl John Bedigian. Michael Ernest Beekman. Marie A. Bear. Max J. Belke. Yelena Belavosky. Nina Patrice Bell. Debbie S. Bellows. Stephen Elliott Belson. Paul M. Benedetti. Denise Lenore Benedetto. And my cousin, Michael Stabile. Although I was only 5 years old when you passed, your memory still lives on and our family has not forgotten. We miss you, we love you, and you are always in our hearts.
Brian Craig Bennett. Eric L. Bennett. Oliver Bennett. Margaret L. Benson. Dominic J. Barati. James Patrick Berger. Stephen Howard Berger. John P. Burgeon. Alvin Bergson. Daniel David Bergstein. Graham Andrew Berkeley. Michael J. Berkeley. Donna M. Bernards. David W. Bernard. William H. Bernstein. David M. Beret. David Shelby Berry, Joseph John Berry, William Reed Bethke, Yanane Baytru, Timothy D. Bertolli, Carol Mayer Bjorg, Edward Frank Baye, Paul Michael Bayers, and firefighter Michael Carlo, who passed away September 11th, who was survived by his brother Rob Carlo, who lives his legacy and does so much for the communities in remembrance of his brother. And just to remember all the persons out there that are still suffering from the effects of 9/11. God bless to all of you.
Anil Taharam Bahravni, Bella J. Buchanan, Shimmy D. Beagleson, Peter Alexander Beelfield, William G. Bigart, Brian Eugene Bilcher, Mark Bingham, Carl Vincent Binney, Gary Eugene Bird, Joshua David Birnbaum, George John Bishop, Chris Romeo Bishendot, Jeffrey Donald Bittner, okay. Oh, good.
Good morning. I'd like to say it is truly an honor for the Tunnel to Towers Foundation to host this sacred ceremony. We knew that it was of the utmost importance that we read aloud the names of all 2,977 souls who perished 19 years ago today, as well as the names of the 6 lives lost in the 1993 attack on the World Trade Center. Think of people like Gene Raggio, a Port Authority supervisor, known as the mayor of the Twin Towers, who survived the 1993 attack and ended up sacrificing his life helping others on 9/11. His name must be read out loud. And NYPD officer Morris Smith, who was in the South Tower helping people evacuate, repeating over and over, "Don't look, keep moving, keep moving." How many people did she save? Her name must be read out loud. Or the man in the red bandana, Wells Crowther, who saved countless lives. He wasn't a firefighter, he wasn't a police officer, but like so many that day, he made the ultimate sacrifice for the sake of others. His name must be read out loud. What about Todd Beamer and the other passengers on Flight 93 who fought the hijackers before they crashed in Shanksville? Will we ever forget Todd's last words? "Let's roll." Their names must be heard and read out loud. and for those who lost their lives when the Pentagon was struck by Flight 77, including the youngest victim, little 3-year-old Dana Falkenberg. Isn't it right and isn't it just that we read their names out loud? There were so many acts of heroism, like FDNY Battalion Chief Oriel Palmer, along with his band of brothers, who made it up to the 78th floor of the South Tower to help evacuate civilians, who sacrificed their lives. And how about my brother, firefighter Stephen Siller, father of 5, who strapped 60 pounds of gear on his back and he ran through the tunnel to the towers where he gave up his life while saving others. They deserve their names read out loud. The horrific loss of life from the largest attack on U.S. soil, a terrorist attack, requires that we read these names out loud in person on this day every year. We can never minimize that fateful day, the innocence, the violation of so many young people murdered 19 years ago today. We must always remember, we must never forget. God bless you all, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tunnel to Towers Chairman and CEO Frank Siller and Mrs. Patricia Siller. U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, Kelly Craft. U.S. Acting Secretary of Homeland Security, Chad Wolf and Mrs. Hope Wolf. Ladies and gentlemen, the Vice President of the United States, Mike Pence, and Second Lady, Mrs. Karen Pence.
There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens. A time to be born, and a time to die. A time to plant, and a time to uproot. A time to kill, and a time to heal. A time to tear down, and a time to build. A time to weep, and a time to laugh. A time to mourn, and a time to dance. A time to scatter stones, and a time to gather them. A time to embrace, and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to search, and a time to give up. A time to keep, and a time to throw away. A time to tear, and a time to mend. A time to be silent and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. A time for war and a time for peace. What do workers gain from their toil? I have seen the burden God has laid on the human race. He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the human heart. Yet no one can fathom what God has done from beginning to end. Ecclesiastes.
In the memory of all those we lost on this day 19 years ago. In memory of the heroes that were forged that day. And heroes forged on battlefields ever since. And for the families, loved ones, and friends they left behind. I pray these ancient words will comfort your hearts and ours. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He maketh me lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Albert Balahi Blackman, Jr. My dad
Chandler R. Keller, Yvonne E. Kennedy, Norma Cruz Khan, Karen Ann Kincaid, Lieutenant Michael S. LaManna, United States Navy. David
September 11th, 2001.
Tugboat for being small in stature. Your nieces have grown to young women. Ashley recently became a mother, which makes you a great uncle. Yes, I could hear you saying, "What do you mean? I was always great." And great you were and continue to be in all of our hearts. God bless you and all the lives lost 19 years ago, and God bless the United States of America.
Klaus Both, Carol Marie Bouchard, J. Howard Bolton, Francisco Aligio Boder, Thomas Harold Bowden Jr., Donna M. Bowen, Kimberly S. Bowers, Veronique Nicole Bowers, Larry Bowman, Sean Edward Bowman Jr., Kevin L. Bowser, Gary R. Box, Gennady Boyarsky, Pamela Boyce, Alan P. Boyle, Michael Boyle, Alfred J. Braca, Sandra Conady Brace, Kevin Hugh Bracken, Sandy Waugh Bradshaw, David Brian Brady, Alexander Braginski, Nicholas W. Brandamarty, Daniel Raymond Brandhurst, and my father, FDNY Lieutenant Joseph P. Gullickson, Ladder 101. Daddy, not a day goes by where we don't think of you. We miss you and we love you.
David Reed Gamboa Brandhorst. Michelle Renee Bratton. Patrice Brout. Lydia Estelle Bravo. Ronald Michael Brightweiser. Edward A. Brennan III. Frank H. Brennan. Michael E. Brennan. Peter Brennan. Thomas Moore Brennan. Daniel J. Brethel. Gary Lee Bright. Jonathan Eric Briley. Mark A. Brisman. Paul Gary Bristow. Marion R. Britton. Mark Francis Broderick. Herman Charles Broghammer. Keith A. Broomfield. Bernard C. Brown II. Janice Julius Brown. Lloyd Stanford Brown. Patrick John Brown. Bettina B. Brown Radburn. And to my uncle, firefighter John Michael Collins of Ladder 25. I was very young when you passed, but you've had a profound impact on me. You're the reason I became an EMT, and you're my role model in life and in my career. You're my hero, Johnny. We love you and we'll never forget.
Mark Bruce. Richard George Bruhert. Andrew Brunn. Vincent Edward Brunton. Ronald Buca. Brandon J. Buchanan. Greg J. Buck. Dennis Buckley. Nancy Claire Boucher. Patrick Joseph Boos. John Edward Bulaga Jr. Stephen Bruce Bunnan. Christopher L. Buford. My friend Matthew J. Burke. Thomas Daniel Burke. William Francis Burke, Jr. Charles F. Burlingham III. Thomas E. Burnett, Jr. Donald J. Burns. Kathleen Ann Burns. Keith James Burns. John Patrick Burnside. Irina Buslow. Milton G. Bustillo. And my friend and brother-in-law, Sean Thomas Lugano. Your family misses and loves you and thinks about you every day. God bless Matt, Sean, and all of the victims. God bless the victims' families, and God bless the United States of America.
Thomas M. Butler. Patrick Dennis Byrne. Timothy G. Byrne. Daniel M. Caballero. Jesus Napalte Cabarrus. Lillian Caceres. Brian Joseph Kachia, Stephen Dennis Cafiro Jr., Richard Michael Caggiano, Cecile Maria Kalika, John Brett Cahill, Michael John Cahill, Scott Walter Cahill, Thomas Joseph Cahill, George C. Kane, Salvatore B. Calabro, Joseph M. Calandrillo, Philip V. Calcano, Edward Calderon, Jose O. Calderon Olmedo, Kenneth Marcus Cadwell, Dominic E. Kalia, Felix Bobby Calixte, Francis Joseph Callahan, my cousin Salvatore B. Calabro, firefighter. We love and miss you very much. Thank you.
Liam Callahan, Suzanne M. Callie, Gino Luigi Calvi, Rocco Camaj, Michael F. Camarada, David O.T. Campbell, Jeffrey Thomas Campbell.
Survivors and families of the fallen watching from across the nation, thank you for participating in this morning's ceremony. 19 years ago today, began as a typical morning for Pentagon employees, and they commuted to work under a near cloudless sky with temperatures in the low 60s, and it promised to be a beautiful day. Here in this building, military members and defense civilians exercised at the athletic center and sipped their morning coffee and prepared for routine meetings and the day's work. And all that changed at 9:37 a.m. In seconds, scores of lives were lost. 184 men, women, and children were murdered in a violent impact and fiery blast. The innocent range in age from 3 to 71 years. Those who perished here, along with almost 3,000 more in New York City and in Somerset County, Pennsylvania, they were killed for what they believed in and for what they represented. But their memory and their legacy will live on as we honor and remember them all today. The horrific acts of terrorism on that day were meant to disrupt our way of life and destroy the idea that is America. The idea is simple, yet very powerful. The idea that terrorists hate and fear. The idea that all of us, men and women, black and white, Asian or Indian, no matter what the color of our skin, no matter if we are Catholic or Protestant, Muslim or Jew, or if we choose not to believe at all, the idea that each and every one of us is created free and equal. The idea that we will rise and fall based on our merit, not because of our race, our religion, or anything other than our competence and our character. The idea of a free press, free speech, due process, the right to peacefully assemble and demonstrate and protest. The idea of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. All of that is what our fallen believed in, and all of that is what they represented. All of the values and principles embedded in our Constitution and made real in our own daily lives were paid for in the blood of the fallen. Those ideas were and still are hated by our enemies, by fascists, Nazis, communists, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, authoritarians, dictators, and tyrants of all kinds. They hate those ideas. They hate those values. And on 9/11, on 9/11, they tried to destroy us. But their murderous intent was never realized. Instead of sowing division and strife, we gathered at the murder scenes in New York City and Pennsylvania and right here at the Pentagon. And we came together as a nation. In the chaos and fog of the attacks, soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, Coast Guardsmen, civilians, first responders, all brave, all selfless, ran into the flames to help the injured and the wounded. In the smoke and the dust of the rubble, no one could discern another's physical attributes, nor were they concerned with each other's background. What mattered is they were helping one another. What mattered is they were Americans with complete unity of purpose. Now, almost 2 decades later, their legacy of service and sacrifice continues. Since 9/11, almost 3 million Americans have deployed overseas serving their country in the war against terrorism. And nearly 6,000 have laid down their lives on the altar of freedom for the principles that come under attack on that day. And today, we gather here to honor the fallen of 9/11, to remember and reflect and to reaffirm our resolve to support and defend the Constitution, the idea and reality that is America, for which those brave souls gave the last full measure of devotion. So let us resolve here yet again today to never forget those who were murdered by the terrorists, never forget those who rushed to save lives and in the process gave their own. Never forget the sons and the daughters, the brothers, the sisters, the mothers, the fathers who gave their tomorrows for our todays. Honor them today and forever, and honor the cause they served. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure to now introduce the 27th Secretary of Defense, the Honorable Mark Esper.
Thank you, General Milley. Distinguished guests, senior leaders, and most importantly, the survivors and the friends and family who lost loved ones on that solemn day 19 years ago. Thank you for joining us as we pay tribute to the nearly 3,000 innocent lives that were suddenly and violently taken from us at the World Trade Center in New York City, at a quiet field near Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and here at the Pentagon. Much like this morning, on September 11th, 2001, Americans were getting ready for what they thought would be just another workday. No one could fathom that on that bright September morning, we would experience the worst terrorist attack in our nation's history. A horrific crime carried out by evil fanatics who would brutally kill the innocent in the name of their distorted cause. It was a vicious assault directed not just at our people and our institutions, but also at our most sacred ideals: freedom, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Yet in their attempt to shake the very foundations of our republic, to destroy our way of life, they underestimated our strength, our resolve, and our unbreakable spirit. We came together as a nation on that fateful day and witnessed a tremendous outpouring of courage, compassion, and sacrifice amid the grief, the darkness, and the disarray. The Stars and Stripes, that great symbol of our great nation, would soon adorn homes and businesses all across America. We remember vividly the images of first responders and volunteers covered in soot and ash, running undaunted toward the smoke, the fire, the chaos, again and again, to rescue the trapped and the injured. Here at the Pentagon, we honor and remember the numerous acts of heroism and personal courage that prevented the human toll from becoming much, much worse. In one account, intrepid Americans determined to save their colleagues rolled in pools of standing water to protect themselves from the intense fire and heat as they repeatedly rushed back into the burning rubble and smoldering ruins. Meanwhile, engineers, mechanics, and hundreds of others jumped into action, keeping this building operating, even as firefighters battled the raging inferno brought on by Flight 77's jet fuel. The resourcefulness and determination allowed the Pentagon to continue its vital role of directing the readiness and response of U.S. military forces worldwide without missing a beat. And maybe most importantly, these heroes demonstrated to the world, especially our enemies, the resilience of America's armed forces and of our people. Since 9/11, millions of Americans have stepped up to serve this great country, all swearing that solemn oath to support and defend the Constitution, and with many paying the ultimate price to ensure that such an attack never happens again. That remains our standard to this day. Whether denying safe haven to terrorists in Afghanistan and Iraq, defeating the physical caliphate of ISIS, preventing violent extremists from gaining a foothold on the African continent, or bringing to justice terrorist leaders wherever they hide. The United States military continues to defend our homeland, our people, and our way of life. And so today, we also recognize those who've answered our nation's call, and we honor the legacy of our brave service members who have laid down their lives to secure the blessings of this great nation. Because of their selfless service, sacrifice, and unshakable commitment to our Constitution, America stands stronger, safer, and more secure. To the friends and families of those who have perished, no words can ever soothe your grief. No act will ever replace your loss. No remembrance will ever fill that void. But please, please know that the men and women of the Department of Defense will always be with you as we give our sacred pledge that your loved ones will not have died in vain so long as we stand watch over this great nation. It is in that spirit that we commemorate today and every 9/11 that follows, to reflect on the blessings of this great country, to renew our commitment to the principles that have kept our homeland free, and to reaffirm our solemn vow as Americans that we will never forget the lives lost and tremendous sacrifices made on that fateful day and in the years that follow. May God bless you, and may God bless America. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for a moment of silence to honor those killed at the Pentagon on United Airlines Flight 93 and in New York. Present arms. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's observance. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't see them. I don't know where they are. Can you tell? Yeah, we were after all this is done.
they parked already? They must have parked, right?
That's a travel pool.
No, I saw, yeah, that I saw.
So,
I mean, the motorcade is up there, so he must be down there somewhere. Yeah, I see the cars.
Gerard J. Coppola, Joseph Albert Corbett, John J. Corcoran III, Alejandro Cordero, and my brother, Donald W. Robertson, Jr. Donnie, we love you and miss you every single day. We keep your legacy alive through your beautiful children, Michael, Matthew, Madison, and Kevin, as well as Mom and Dad and our large family and all of your friends, and of course, Team Shamrock. We promise that we will be here every year reading your name and keeping your memory alive. We, Donnie, will never forget you. God bless you all, and God bless the United States of America.
Whenever I'm ready. Robert Joseph Cordes, Ruben D. Carrera, Danny A. Carrera Gutierrez, Georgine Rose Corrigan, James J. Corrigan, Carlos Cortez Rodriguez, Kevin Michael Cosgrove, Dolores Marie Costa, Digna Alexandra Costanza, Charles Gregory Costello, Michael S. Costello, Asia S. Cottam, Conrad Coffey Katoya Sr., Martin John Conlon, John G. Conlon, Timothy J. Conlon, James E. Cove, Andre Colin Cox, Frederick John Cox, James Raymond Coyle, Michelle Coyle Eula, Christopher Satan Kramer, Eric A.
Good morning, and welcome to Flight 93 National Memorial. My name is Stephen Clark, and I have the honor of serving as the superintendent at this very special place. The National Park Service is honored and deeply humbled to serve as the steward of this 2,200-acre memorial dedicated in the memory of 40 amazing heroes. On this day, 19 years ago, the passengers and crew members of Flight 93 bonded together and prevented their hijacked airplane from reaching its intended target, Washington, D.C., a mere 18 minutes flying time from this sacred ground behind me, which today marks their final resting place. Their sacrifice that morning saved an untold number of lives. Since that September day, these special people have always been remembered as heroes to America and around the world. The passengers and crew members at Flight 93 continue to be a testament to the best of humankind, showing incredible strength and resilience in response to an unprecedented set of challenging circumstances. We remember, and again today, on this special day, come together once again to honor them. Mr. President, our First Lady, Secretary Bernhardt, welcome back to this very special place. To Secretary Chow, representing the Department of Transportation, to members of Congress, our township, county, state, and federal officials, and to the many Flight 93 National Memorial ambassadors here with us this morning, welcome. To so many who are unable to be with us this morning and who are watching the ceremony remotely from around this nation and from around the world, welcome. Please know you are all with us in spirit. And to the families of Flight 93, those here this morning and those unable to attend, we honor your loved one's sacrifice, and we will be eternally grateful. It is truly powerful that we can come together on this day as a nation, pause, and take the time to honor those we lost on the morning of September 11th, here at Flight 93, at the Pentagon, and in New York. I would invite you all to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Please remain standing following the pledge for a moment of reflection led by Reverend Stephen McEwen, who served as the chaplain for the FBI Pittsburgh Division on September 11th and continues to serve in this role today. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing.
Let us pray. Most merciful God, as we gather here, 19 years has passed since the sacrifice of those we remember today. With them too are all the agencies and people involved. And we pray too for those who have become ill from being here, and those as time has passed also died, simply by doing their investigation. We bring especially and commit to your care all the families who lost someone that day, whose life was forever changed, and whose faith was deeply challenged. Those of us who were present know in our hearts something of that pain and suffering. As the years pass, may these families here and throughout the world no one never gets over it, but by your mighty help gets through it. And so we commit this different kind of gathering to you. And we ask in all our hearts that you will bless and sanctify this place, that all who visit experience something of your love and presence, that it is a holy place where mingled with the sadness there is a feeling of victory and the eternal knowledge that all are forevermore in your presence and share in your resurrection life. And may these words of the Celtic Prayer remain in our hearts. Circle us, O God, keep hope within and despair without. Circle us, O God, keep peace within, keep turmoil out. Circle us, O God, keep calm within, keep storms without. Circle us, O God, keep strength within, keep weakness out. In your most holy name we pray. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. About this time, 19 years ago, 40 individuals, mostly strangers, were coming to the realization and formulating a plan that they needed to take action. By this point in the morning, many aboard Flight 93 were aware that the World Trade Center and the Pentagon had been struck by airliners. Galvanized with this information, these strangers came together in this national moment of uncertainty. Their choice to make a difference that morning has continued to resonate with people around the globe. It is fitting that we take this moment to pause and remember those individuals who unknowingly sacrificed their own lives and saved the lives of countless others at 10:03 a.m. when United Airlines Flight 93 impacted the Earth. The site of the impact now marked with a boulder. As we reflect this morning on the 40 passengers and crew members, I welcome my former colleague, Mary Jane Hartman, who recently retired as the Chief of Interpretation, Education, and Visitor Services here at Flight 93 National Memorial, to lead the reading of their names. As each name is read, Andrea Damon and Roy Caven, both retired FBI special agents and respective senior team leaders for the Pittsburgh and Cleveland divisions of the evidence response teams on September 11th, will ring the bells of remembrance in their memory.
Christian Adams. Lorraine G. Bay. Todd M. Sandy Wall Bradshaw. Marion R. Britton. Thomas E. Burnett, Jr. William Joseph Cashman. Georgine Rose Corrigan. Patricia Cushing. Captain Jason M. Dahl. Joseph DeLuca. Patrick Joseph Driscoll. Edward Porter Felt.
The East Coast, 7 a.m. in the West, and at this hour, Americans from coast to coast are pausing and remembering a somber day in our nation's history, the 9/11 terror attacks, which happened 19 years ago this morning. Events to remember and honor the nearly 3,000 lives lost that day are underway this morning in New York, at the Pentagon in Washington, and in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. The ceremonies, of course, look very different this year because of the ongoing pandemic. Already this morning, we've seen President Trump and the First Lady observe a moment of silence aboard Air Force One, marking the first time that the plane hit the World Trade Center 19 years ago. They were on their way to Shanksville, Pennsylvania, where they are now taking part in a ceremony there as well. Joe Biden, the vice president, the nominee for the Democrats, will be in Shanksville later today. He started his morning at Ground Zero in New York, where he briefly greeted Vice President Mike Pence with an elbow bump. NBC's White House correspondent Peter Alexander is in Shanksville for us. And Peter, I know we are going to be not seeing you, but hearing you. This ceremony already underway. We're expecting remarks from the president as the nation pauses and politics pauses to remember what was lost that day.
Yeah, Savannah, that's exactly right. This is a solemn ceremony scaled back this year due to coronavirus. Just a couple of hundred people here, many of the family members of those who lost their lives in this barren field in western Pennsylvania 19 years ago this day. It's a place that represents unity and courage and defiance in the face of adversity. Right now, they are reading the 40 names of those who died aboard United Flight 93 here at the National Memorial. There are others in attendance here. The First Lady joins the President before he delivers his remarks a short time from now. Last night there was a powerful tribute. They debuted the Tower of Light display here. 40 beams of light shooting into the sky, one for each of those passengers and crew members who was killed, together illuminating the sky in one solid beam. It was a powerful symbol. You could see it from miles away. Really a chance to remember and to reflect. As you look back on 19 years ago this day, we heard from the chaplain speaking in introduction earlier today, saying that no one gets over it, but together we hope to get through it. That plane, Flight 93, they say, was just 18 minutes away from what was believed to be its target, the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. They believe that the hijackers' intended target was the U.S. Capitol itself, Savannah.
And this morning in Shanksville, instead of a moment of silence, there will be a moment of reading of the names of the 40 souls who died there after an incredible act of courage that still resonates to this day, leaping forward to save their fellow Americans, not knowing what possibly could be unfolding on the ground as they flew that day. And we will pause for a moment as we listen to some of those names being read.
Linda Gronland. Richard J. Guadagno.
So powerful to hear each name
First
read,
Officer
a pause,
Leroy Homer.
and the chime of a bell to remember each individual life. More than nearly 3,000 lives lost this day, and the names are being read at the World Trade Center this morning, a process that takes hours to unfold. We remember 9/11, we remember those lost, and we remember the heroics of those who died saving others that day. Peter Alexander, thank you so much. We'll continue to watch this. NBC News will have complete coverage of today's memorials throughout the day on MSNBC, also streaming on NBC News Now. I'm Savannah Guthrie in New York. This has been an NBC News special report.
Hilda Marson. Waleska Martinez. Nicole Carol Miller. Louis J. Nackey II. Donald Arthur Peterson. Jean Hoadley Peterson. Mark David Rothenberg. Christine Ann Snyder. John Talignani. Honor Elizabeth Wainio. Deborah Jacobs Welsh.
Please join me in a moment of silence as we conclude this moment of remembrance. Thank you. This morning, I am honored to introduce Mr. Ed Root. Mr. Root currently serves as the Vice President for the families of Flight 93. He is joined on stage today by his wife, Nancy. Ed's cousin, Lorraine Grace Bay, was a senior flight attendant on Flight 93. Those closest to Ed know of his personal passion for sharing the history of the American Civil War as both an author and historian. He served on the jury to select the winning design of the Flight 93 National Memorial in 2005, and since 2006, Ed has served on the board of directors for the families of Flight 93. Throughout the memorial's creation, Mr. Root has served on numerous committees within the Flight 93 National Memorial Partnership. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Ed Root.
Mr. President, Mrs. Trump, Father McEwen, Secretary Bernhardt, Steve, and my wife Nancy. Honored guests, family members and friends, thank you for attending today's commemoration. A common field one day, a field of honor forever. All of us who are of a certain age certainly remember that September morning when a darkness enveloped a beautiful late summer day that changed our collective lives. As the days passed and we tried to make sense of it all, some of us as family members of the heroes of Flight 93 began to come to this place. We came as strangers, strange land. We knew not each other. We knew not the members of this wonderful community. On the first anniversary of that tragic day, a large number of family members gathered to commemorate, to remember. We were housed and traveled together in that first annual ceremony in a convoy of buses. At the moment, we were beginning to know each other a little bit, to learn a little bit more about the men and women who shared those last moments of life on Flight 93. As we traveled through Somerset and Shanksville, we were surprised as traffic stopped and law enforcement and others stood and saluted as our buses passed. Many of us were taken aback as we did not feel we personally deserved such honors. This day, we as family members have been treated by local, state, federal officials, the public at large, with a respect that is sometimes awkward. We as family members do represent the heroes of Flight 93. This is and has been our only goal, to honor and remember them. This magnificent memorial, established unanimously by Congress in 2002, dedicated to the proposition that all who visit this place remember the collective act of courage and sacrifice of the passengers and crew, revere this hallowed ground as the final resting place of those heroes, and reflect on the power of individuals who choose to make a difference. We thank the National Park Service and the multitude of volunteers and friends who relate the story of the 40 heroes of Flight 93. It has been 19 years, but sometimes it seems like yesterday. The wounds never truly close completely. The memories of our loved ones linger like a mist or a soft breeze. It could be a song, a special date, a holiday, an article of clothes, a photograph, a name, and it all comes tumbling back. Some of us have crossed over the river, and a new generation has joined our family circle. It has been 19 years, and those too young or unborn on that fateful September morning come to this place, an honor to learn. The realm of history is taking over from those of us who lived and suffered through that day. The image of those rushing into the flames in New York and Washington to save others, the co-workers who helped others at risk to themselves, the men and women who rushed here but found no one to save. It is our responsibility as a nation to see that these actions are remembered. Our work is not done, it continues. We've watched this memorial grow from that common field. We've seen the multitude of items left by visitors at the early temporary memorials. Some of those items spoke with a logic that needed no explanation. A first responder, a law enforcement badge. Some spoke of continuing service and sacrifice. Purple Hearts, combat boots, infantrymen combat badges. Items earned with blood, toil, tears, and sweat. Other items seemed possibly out of place, except that visitors felt the need to leave something of themselves. It might have been something found in a pocket. It might have been a child's toy. The heroes of Flight 93 had two elements that those on the other planes and those on the ground in Washington and New York did not possess. They had knowledge. Not a lot, but enough. And they had time. Not a lot, but enough. And they used that knowledge and they used that time to develop a plan and implement it. They were unable to save themselves, but they knew that unless they acted, many more would die. The men and women of Flight 93 came from different backgrounds and beliefs. They were mostly Americans, but also citizens of Japan, Germany, and New Zealand. They had one very important thing in common. They all came from a belief in a free society. Those who embrace a philosophy of terror have proven over and over that they will die for their cause. Their cause is death. They build nothing, they save nothing, they produce nothing. The cause of the heroes of Flight 93 was to save life, certainly their own if possible, but they knew the cause was greater than their own lives. It's been 19 years, a lifetime for some, but a twinkling of an eye in the realm of history. We must be diligent in protecting our freedoms. We must remember and we must honor those who rushed into the flames of buildings and into the cockpit of Flight 93. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed, for sharing your thoughts today and for your ongoing advocacy for the families and this memorial. I'd like to now welcome Secretary David Bernhardt, the 53rd Secretary of the United States of Interior, which include, among many others, the National Park Service and the United States Fish and Wildlife Service. Secretary Bernhardt has been a steadfast supporter to Flight 93 National Memorial and directly offered departmental support to this special place to ensure the final realization and completion of the 40 wind chimes at the Tower of Voices. We truly appreciate your support, Mr. Secretary, and thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Secretary of the Interior, Mr. David Bernhardt.
Thank you, Superintendent Clark. The Department of the Interior, through the National Park Service, is entrusted to serve as the steward and the guardian of our national parks, our monuments, and battlefields. And each site helps tell America's story, a rich and incredible story. The places we steward and protect often highlight exceptional action by incredible individuals, but none more so than this site dedicated to 40 heroes. Our sites would not tell the rich stories without the dedicated employees of the National Park Service, who I want to thank for working so closely with the families of Flight 93 over the last few weeks to bring this 19th observance to fruition. Thank you. Last night I had the incredible privilege to join some of you to participate in the chimes dedication ceremony. While there, I had an opportunity to listen to Patrick White and Gordon Felt eloquently describe the incredible reality of 40 strangers from diverse walks of life, thrown together by chance, each recognizing the challenge they faced, together uniting for a common purpose and a greater good, and then acting with dispatch and resolve against those who wished to attack our great nation. All of these events occurring over such a short period of time is absolutely incredible. Later, as I walked with Pat and Gordon up the pathway to the base of the Tower of Voices, I reflected on a fact that I have come to know with certainty while serving in President Trump's administration. And that fact is this: throughout my tenure, I have witnessed that this president has incredible confidence in and respect for the greatness of the American people. This confidence in the greatness of the American people has led him to find unity when it was not expected. It has led him to make strides forward for our country when no one thought possible, time and time again. I do not believe anyone could believe in the goodness of our country and our heroes more. And therefore, it is my tremendous honor and privilege to introduce the 45th President of the United States,
Donald J. Trump.
Thank you, David, very much. It's a great honor to be with you. 19 years ago on this day, at this very hour on this field, 40 brave men and women triumphed over terror and gave their lives in defense of our nation. Their names and their stories are forever inscribed on the eternal roll call of American heroes. Today we pay tribute to their sacrifice, and we mourn deeply for the nearly 3,000 precious and beautiful souls who were taken from us on September 11th, 2001. To the family members of Flight 93, today every heartbeat in America is wedded to yours. Your pain and anguish is the shared grief of our whole nation. The memory of your treasured loved ones will inspire America for all time to come. The heroes of Flight 93 are an everlasting reminder that no matter the danger, no matter the threat, no matter the odds, America will always rise up, stand tall, and fight back. To every 9/11 member all across this nation, the First Lady and I come to this hallowed ground, deeply aware that we cannot fill the void in your heart or erase the terrible sorrow of this day, the agony renewed, the nightmare relived, the wounds reopened, the last treasured words played over and over again in your minds. But while we cannot erase your pain, we can help to shoulder your burden. We promise that unwavering love that you so want and need, support, devotion, and the very special devotion of all Americans. On that September morning when America was under attack, the battle turned in the skies above this field. Soon after taking off from Newark, New Jersey, radical Islamic terrorists seized control of United 93. Other hijacked planes struck the North Tower of the World Trade Center, and then the South Tower, and then the Pentagon. The terrorists on Flight 93 had a fourth target in mind. It was called our nation's capital. They were just 20 minutes away from reaching their sinister objective. The only thing that stood between the enemy and a deadly strike at the heart of American democracy was the courage and resolve of 40 men and women, the amazing passengers and crew of Flight 93. Donald and Jean Peterson were grandparents traveling to vacation in California. Deora Bodley was a student headed back to college. Richard Wardagdo was returning from celebrating his grandmother's 100th birthday. Lauren Catozzi Grancolis was 3 months pregnant with her first child. Every passenger and crew member on the plane had a life filled with love and joy, friends and family, radiant hopes, and limitless dreams. When the plane was hijacked, they called their families and learned that America was also under attack. Then they faced the most fateful moment of their lives. Through the heartache and the tears, they prayed to God. They placed their last calls home. They whispered the immortal words, "I love you." Today those words ring out across these sacred grounds, and they shine down on us from heaven above. When terrorists race to destroy the seat of our democracy, the 40 of Flight 93 did the most American of things. They took a vote, and then they acted. Together they charged the cockpit. They confronted the pure evil, and in their last act on this earth, they saved our capital. In this Pennsylvania field, the 40 intrepid souls of Flight 93 died as true heroes. Their momentous deeds will outlive us all. In the days and weeks after 9/11, citizens of all faiths, background, colors, and creeds came together, prayed together, mourned together, and rebuilt together. The song, God Bless America, became a rallying cry for the nation. We were united by our conviction that America was the world's most exceptional country, blessed with the most incredible heroes, and that this was a land worth defending with our very last breath. It was a unity based on love for our families, care for our neighbors, loyalty to our fellow citizens, pride in our great flag, gratitude for our police and first responders, faith in God, and a refusal to bend our will to the depraved forces of violence, intimidation, oppression, and evil. In New York, Arlington, and Shanksville, people raced into the suffocating smoke and rubble. At Ground Zero, the world witnessed the miracle of American courage and sacrifice. As ash rained down, police officers, first responders, and firefighters ran into the fires of hell. On that day, more than 400 first responders gave their lives, including 23 New York City police officers, 37 Port Authority workers, and 343 New York City firefighters. Today we honor their extraordinary sacrifice and every first responder who keeps America safe. With us today is David D'Amato, a retired Chicago police officer and a current officer of the Navy Reserves. On 9/11, he drove from Chicago to Ground Zero. As David says, while the sights and smells of working at Ground Zero will forever be etched in my mind, what is more profound is the way this country came together afterwards. The police officers and firemen were revered as the heroes they truly are. The military was appreciated in a manner not seen in decades, and common people found new meaning in values like friendship, kindness, and selflessness. Thank you, David. Such beautiful words, and thank you to every member of law enforcement who risks their lives to ensure our safety and uphold our peace. This morning, we also remember the 183 people who were killed in the attack on the Pentagon, and the remarkable service members who crawled straight through the raging blaze to rescue their comrades. We express our undying loyalty to the nearly 6 million young men and women who have enlisted in the United States Armed Forces since September 11th, 2001. More than 7,000 military heroes have laid down their lives since 9/11 to preserve our freedom. No words can express the summit of their glory or the infinite depth of our gratitude, but we will strive every single day to repay our immeasurable debt and prove worthy of their supreme sacrifice. America will never relent in pursuing terrorists that threaten our people. Less than 1 year ago, American warriors took out the savage killer and leader of ISIS, al-Baghdadi. Soon after, our warriors ended the brutal reign of the Iranian butcher who murdered thousands of American service members. The world's top terrorist, Qasem Soleimani, is dead. Here in Shanksville, this community locked arms and hearts in the wake of tragedy. With us today is Chuck Wagner, a heavy equipment operator who lives just a few miles away. Very soon after the attack, Chuck helped search for the black box. He was so changed by what he experienced that he joined with several members of his church to become what they call ambassadors for the 40 men and women on Flight 93. Chuck and his neighbors learned about each person, cared for their families, and each day, rain or shine, they took shift standing vigil over their final resting place. Long before this place was a national memorial, back when it was marked by a simple wooden cross, Chuck and his fellow ambassadors were always here waiting to tell visitors about those we lost. 19 years later, Chuck says his life is devoted to three things: his family, his church, and preserving the memory of the men and women of Flight 93. To Chuck, his wife Jane, thank you very much. To Chuck and his wife Jane, thank you so much for being here, and to the over 40 ambassadors with us today, please stand and receive America's thanks. And this is a very deep thanks, please. Thank you very much. Also with us is Marine veteran Jason Thomas from Long Island. On September 11th, Jason had just retired from the Marines, but he immediately put back on his uniform and raced into the nightmare of ash and debris. At Ground Zero, he found a fellow Marine, Dave Carnes. Together they began to call out, "United States Marines, United States Marines." If you can hear us yell, tap, do whatever you can do with the United States Marines. Soon they heard a shout for help. Two police officers were trapped beneath 20 feet of rubble. Jason and Dave dug for hours on end, knowing that at any moment the wreckage could come down on them, crushing them alive. At one point, someone told Jason to stop. Jason replied, "I'm a Marine. I don't go back, I go forward." That day, Jason helped save the lives of those two officers. For years, Jason said nothing about what he did on 9/11. He did not even tell his 5 children. But when he saw a rescue recounted on TV, he decided to meet those officers. One of them gave him a gift, a steel cross made from a beam that Jason helped lift to free them from the hell on earth. As Jason said about the cross, it means a lot. It's a symbol of what we are as Americans, because that day we all came together and stood as a nation, as Americans. It didn't matter what race you were, what religion you were. It didn't matter. We all came together to help one another. I die for this country. I die for this country. Jason, thank you very much for bearing witness to the character of our nation. Jason, thank you very much. Thank you, Jason. The men and women of Flight 93 were mothers and fathers, sons and daughters, husbands and wives. Nothing could have prepared them for the dreadful events of that morning. But when the moment came, when history called, they did not hesitate, they did not waver. 40 towering patriots rose up, took charge, made their stand, turned the tide, and changed the course of history forever. Our sacred task, our righteous duty, and our solemn pledge is to carry forward the noble legacy of the brave souls who gave their lives for us 19 years ago. In their memory, we resolve to stand united as one American nation, to defend our freedoms, to uphold our values, to love our neighbors, to cherish our country, to care for our communities, to honor our heroes, and to never, ever forget. Thank you. God bless you. God bless the heroes of Flight 93. God bless all of the families. 9/11, we'll never forget. God bless you all, and God bless America. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, thank you so very much for those moving and inspirational words. As we conclude here this day together, we do indeed remember and honor the 40 passengers and crew members of Flight 93 in this special and unique ceremony. As we go our separate ways, may we carry the memory of how they came together on that day to make our nation and world a better place for all. At this time, I would like to ask all attendees to remain in their seats as we prepare for the ceremonial wreath laying. I would ask that the Flight 93 ambassadors and dignitaries remain seated immediately following the wreath laying ceremony to allow time and space for the families of Flight 93 to walk to the Wall of Names and through the ceremonial gate to the sacred ground. Once again, thank you all for joining us today to honor the memory of the passengers and crew of Flight 93.